everybody. It's Mrs. K and Mrs. Zimmerman, and we are here with you for another week of math at home. And this is not the perfect situation, but we thought it would be fun to show you a different way to present math. So we're going to start a new chapter. We finished our interquartile range, and now we're moving on to integers. So Mrs. Zimmerman, what are you going to show us today?
All right, so I know a lot of you have a lot of free time these last couple days, and I have some free time as well. So I decided, why not draw you guys a beautiful little picture? You see my little boat? Yeah. Oh, isn't it good, Mrs. K?
Yeah, move it a little closer so the old lady can see. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay.
I worked really hard at this. And you know, while I was drawing this picture, I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, in math this week, we're doing integers, and wouldn't this boat just be the perfect example to show my kids what an integer is? Yeah, you guys know I like to do that. So here's my boat. And you maybe heard this in science before, but a boat, when it's right at the level of water, that's called at sea level, okay? So if we were thinking about that in numbers, we would say that the boat is at 0. 0 would be like our just baseline where sea level is, okay? And I was sitting here thinking about my drawing, and I was like, you know, it's kind of lame. It needs something more. So I just decided to add a little fish down there. Do you see it?
Oh, it's cute.
Yeah, it's adorable. I worked really hard on it. So now underneath of the water, we have a fish. And we would say that that fish is below sea level, okay? So 0 is where the water is, and our fish is below sea level. And how we could represent that in math, let's say, for example, our fish is 8 feet below water. How about, okay? This distance right here from the water to the fish is 8 feet. And because it's below 0, we could just say, as an integer, we would write -8, okay? So, yeah, Mrs. K, I was just gonna write that. That's the word we're using, integer. Okay, so when we say integer, we're talking about like 0. Now we've got -8 as an integer. Now we're 8 feet below sea level. That's my fish, okay? Now, I also had some more free time. I just added some more to my picture. So I have some birds flying up there, some pretty little red ones. So I've got my ship at sea level. I've got my fish over here that is -8 below sea level. So we call that below sea level. Okay, now my birds are way up here, and you can notice they're above where my water line is, right? So let's say, for example, my birds are flying at, I don't know, 30 feet, okay? So now I've got the distance from my birds to the water line, this distance right there, water to birds. This is above the water, so we would call that above sea level. So we would do it. It would be like a +30, okay? But there's another integer, yeah. So most of the numbers you have been dealing with so far are positive numbers, and so you really don't even have to write the positive sign. You see the difference between that? It's still positive, but we don't have to write the positive sign in front of it. We only do that when it's negative, if we're just writing integers, okay? Does that kind of make sense, Mrs. K?
Yeah, the only thing I'm thinking of is, remember that 0 isn't above sea level, and 0 isn't below sea level, and so 0 is not an integer. It's only a number and its opposite. So in Mrs. Zimmerman's case, she has 30, and the opposite of that would be a -30.
Yeah.
So that's an integer. And her -8 on her fish, the opposite of that would be +8. So that's an integer.
Very good. Okay, so we use the example of sea level here, but there are all different ways, I guess, you could think about looking at positive and negative numbers. So I want to show you some examples. Here we go. Okay, so you should all be able to see on my screen. I'll put my little drawing for this.
We can see it.
Okay, so my directions are up here on top, and they say to write an integer for each situation. So my situation, a hiker climbs 900 feet up a mountain. Okay, there's a key word here that we're looking for, Mrs. K. Can you find it?
Let's see. Well, I really like to hike. But oh, I see the word up.
Up. Did you guys catch that? We're going 15 feet up a mountain. Does up indicate positive or negative? Positive, right? So that would be a positive 900. But
And I'm thinking that's like your birds, up above the boat, above the sea level.
yeah, that's a good way to think of it. Like mountains are up. Okay, but we don't have to do the positive sign. So we can just write our integer as 900.
Okay.
Okay, now let's look at this one. It says that you have a debt of $24.
Wait a minute. What's a debt?
What's a debt, Mrs. K? Well, a debt happens like, let's say, for example, you know, you borrowed your dad some money. Okay, or your dad borrowed you money, sorry. And your dad's like, here's $20 to go to the movie, but you got to pay me back. Now you have a debt of $20 to your dad.
Okay, so it's when I owe, I owe somebody some money. Okay.
Yep, you owe somebody something. So you don't have the money anymore. So if you don't have it, that would be, oops, 24, negative 24. Because you could think of, you know, the $20 that you did have would be over here. Now the negative 24 is over there. Let's see, let's look at this one. A student loses 5 points on a quiz. Keyword, Mrs. K? Loses, yes. We lose 5 points. So that would be
take away
5, right?
Negative. Yep.
Negative 5. Okay. Let's see, how about this one? You earn $18 for mowing the lawn. Well, we earn it. So earn means that you gain something. So that would be like a positive 18. And again, we don't have to do the positive. So it'd just be, our integer would be 18.
So you mean every time I write a number, Mrs. Zimmerman, it is always a positive number if there isn't a negative sign?
Yes, 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 yes. If there's nothing in front of it, then it's positive. If it has a number, or sorry, a little negative sign in front of it, then you know it's negative. If it's nothing, automatically positive. Good question. Okay, oh, I have another one. Oh. A whale is 85 feet below sea level. Ooh, you should know this one. Our little fishy, below sea level is what? Negative. So, negative 85 feet below sea level. Okay? Kind of makes sense, Mrs. K?
It does. We've learned today, or what I've learned from your lesson is that there are integers, and integers are positive or negative numbers, the number and its opposite, and the only number that is not an integer is
0. Yay! Yay, we both learned. Okay, great. Okay, so I will pull this away. Now, I have one more thing to show you, Mrs. K. And all you students out there, get pumped because I know how much you absolutely love graphing. Mrs. K and I are excited too. So you've seen this before, right? This is just a regular graph. It starts at 0 and it goes all the way up. That's why we have a little arrow there, because it keeps going, okay? Now that you've just learned about negative and positive numbers, there's another side to this number line. So let me just stop for you real quick. And I bet you can already guess what I'm going to do. I just added on this side, we have a -1, -2, 3, 4, and I put a little arrow so that keeps going. There's like a -100, -1,000,000. You could keep going forever. That's kind of how it works, okay? Another way to think about positives and negatives, you could think of like the temperature, you know? So in the winter, sometimes it gets like, 10 degrees below 0, we'd be looking at a number that's over here. And in the summer, when it's really hot, we're looking at numbers over here. Okay? All right. So Mrs. K had said that an integer is the number and its opposite. Okay? So if I asked you to graph the number 2 and its opposite, well, you know how to use a number line, right? And we know how to graph. Whoops, we just put a little 0 there. Or not a 0, a dot, sorry. Okay, so we put a dot right there on 2 because we're graphing 2. And I want to graph the opposite. So what's the opposite of a positive 2? Negative
2.
That's right. You see, you get the hang of this. Just like that. Okay? All right, let's try one more. Just to make sure we got it. I'm going to have you graph 3 this time and its opposite. So we have, oh, actually, hold on. We'll finish this one. 3 and the opposite of positive 3 is negative 3, right? So I'm going to put a dot here. Okay, now I just thought of a good example. So we're actually going to do one more. Okay? What if I told you to graph negative 1 and its opposite? Now what are you going to do? Well, we're starting with negative 1. So our first dot is actually going to be over here on negative 1. And then the opposite of that negative is positive. So it goes both ways. If you've got a negative, the opposite is positive. If you have a positive, the opposite is negative. You can do it both ways, right? And you know how to graph, so you can do this pretty easily. Don't you think, Mrs. K?
I think so. You did a great job, and I learned a lot about integers.
I'm so happy. I know you all are stuck at home, so it just must be such a relief to hear from me and Mrs. K. We are doing great, and we are just so excited to share more math with you.
You know, if you get lonely, just replay us again.
Over and over. We're going to have another video after this. Mrs. K is going to teach you something. This could literally be the highlight of your week.
Exactly.
I think so. All right. We're going to pause this
for now.
And Mrs. K will be back.